right, I am told, or I recall, there was a time when you could stick a help wanted ad in the newspaper, classified section.
It's a newspaper.
As I said, I'm told this was a thing, and then magically your answering machine would fill up with qualified candidates that you could just sift through and pick the best one. It's a magical time. I do remember looking through classifieds, but I've never been at a company on the hiring side in that environment. So that's clearly not the case anymore. In fact, when Renee and I started at ShoreTech 5 years ago, my first task in marketing was focusing on employer branding and recruitment marketing, and Renee had to focus on reestablishing our career fair presence and building internship from scratch. So this business of finding and appealing to talent has radically changed, and that leads me to present to our final presenter, Michelle Werner. She is here to unpack what's changed and what's new. So Michelle is a professional placement consultant from Hatch Staffing Services. She has more than 30 years of experience in the staffing industry. And having held nearly every role within the company, she brings deep market insight and practical understanding of today's workforce challenges. And Michelle is known for connecting top talent with the right opportunities and delivering creative, effective solutions for her clients. Take it away.
So I've been with Hatch a long time, and I do remember the days of the paper applications. And then when you were very angry with employees in our end, you stapled those applications shut until you were desperate the next day. And then you were looking for the staple remover so you could get them out and call them. But we are a boutique recruitment firm. We've been in business for 43 years. Susan Hatch founded us. Lori Millette is our current owner and president. We specialize and focus on small to mid-sized business market, but we have a global perspective. The clients that we service are global in nature. So when we're talking to them, we're gaining their challenges, things that they're trying. We're able to share those with them. So we're able to share those types of things with you today. A little bit that we'll talk about, or I'll talk about today, is understanding today's market, maybe some strategies that'll help. I'm sure it's, things that you've tried, or maybe it's different tweak. And then just creating competitive candidate experience, and then leveraging your brand, technology, and data. It's more now than just attracting people with what you do. It's why you do it. And back to the culture piece, why people work. People often ask me why I've been at Hatch for 34 years, and it's 1000% our culture and the people that I do it with every single day. That's why I am there. So, manufacturing landscape has changed. As I'm sure you're all aware, we have skilled labor shortages, the aging workforce, and increased competition for talent, and candidate expectations are evolving. They're no longer what they used to be. I remember when I started in staffing back in 1993, everyone talked about 2030. And at that point, I was 22 years old. And I was like, 2030, I won't be on this. This is my one-year HR job. I'll be on to something new. But I fell in love with recruiting. And here we are at the cusp of 2030, and everything they said back then is coming true. We have a number of individuals that are leaving the workforce, and this percentage of individuals over the age of 55. And one thing I can share too that's very unique, and it's been about the last 2 years, the amount of individuals that are at this age that are exiting the workforce because they're done. They're done with the rat race, they're done with everything, and they're moving into more consulting and fractional, which has led us to starting our newest division, Hatch MBA, which is Management Business Advisors, which is employing these folks that no longer would like to do the grind of a 9 to 5 and are consulting and going into companies on a fractional basis. So it's not just manufacturing that has this shortage, it's HR, it's finance, it's accounting, it's individuals that are deciding to do something different. But back to manufacturing and where we're talking today, manufacturing is really, the labor shortages are continuing. And by 2033, we are going to be in a huge deficit. So now's the time to be encouraging our youth, and then also to adapt and change a little bit of our hiring focus. Our biggest advice to our clients is stop looking for the unicorn. You need to hire for potential, not perfection. Today's best manufacturing hires bring reliability and strong attendance. They have a basic mechanical aptitude. They're a teamwork and a culture fit. I would almost move that to the top of the list, and they have a willingness to learn. We have clients that are taking those folks that are in the fast food realm and are turning them into amazing machine operators and giving them a career path, and that's all those individuals want. But again, it's looking beyond that resume and hiring for these 4 things, and that'll help. We also need to modernize our recruiting challenges. I know, Robin, you mentioned the post and pray days are over. The running the posts, you have to be there. You have to be on your website. You need to be running some ads, but you also need to look at other ways to attract talent. And the biggest way you can do that is your employer brand. Everyone's on social media. Everyone, identify first and foremost who you want to be, and then attract those individuals to your organizations. Because candidates are looking at you too. They're looking at those Google reviews. They're looking at your social media. They're talking to people. So you'll want to focus and highlight your brand first, almost before the position. We, even internally at Hatch, a lot of times we have the individuals that we get them wanting us before they even know what the job is. And then, sometimes it can backfire because then they really want you and they're not a fit. And then you have to have that difficult conversation. But that is my biggest thing. Get them to want you first before you even start talking about the job and where they're going to go and the pay. Because if you've got them at your brand, the rest comes pretty easy. Take a pulse of your internal NPS. I think people forget how important that is. We take a pulse internally. We do it with our temporary associates because we have a temporary workforce as well every month, and ask them to rate how are things going. And you'd be surprised, from month to month, there is a change. Now, granted, that could be somebody's just having a bad day. They're mad at their manager, so they're changing that. But if you're not paying attention to what your internal team is saying, they're not going to refer people to work for you. Or they're inadvertently at dinner talking about, oh, this is so crummy here. And somebody else hears it, and then they see your post and they don't apply. So biggest also thing when you're looking at your hiring is don't forget your internal customer, so to speak, and what they're saying. Google reviews. They happen. If you're not staying on top of them, they can pull your SEO from the top, if somebody would Google best manufacturing firms to work in Milwaukee, to the very bottom. And all you need are like 2 1-star reviews or less, and you will drop 3 points. So make sure you're on there. Have somebody, I don't know if you've got somebody in your company, but encourage your employees to go on and write a Google review. Now, you don't want them doing it all at once because Google frowns on that. They find out, and then they're thinking you're stacking it. But get them to write a Google review. Back to what you said, Tim, all about culture. Have them do a shout out publicly for what it's like to work for your organization. It will reap benefits when you are recruiting. Talked about job posts. Yes, we can't post and pray anymore, but you do need to be on there. What we found with a lot of our clients that have had some success is they've changed how they've written those posts. It's no longer everything what the job entails and everything that you want. It's attracting what they want and why they want you. I would recommend you still run both types of posts because there's different individuals. There's the analytical that are going to want every single job function that they're supposed to do. But then there's also that are they want to be part of something, not just a job. And so an example we have here are 2 different ways to write a post to attract talent. As you'll see, the one on the far right, the before, very much, this is the job description, this is what we're looking for, and this is what we need you to have. On the right, though, it's about the company, and it's why they would want to join the company and things that they offer aside from the basic job duties that they might need to have. So just again, going back to that, getting them to want you before you even get to the point of, do they have the skills to do the job? Optimize your hiring processes. I think you need to, again, going back to balance the interviewing versus selling them on you to get the candidates you want. The biggest complaint that we get, and I interview probably 10 plus professionals a week, their biggest complaint when they're interviewing and in the process is the pace of hiring today. They're like, I've gone back for 4 interviews and the job's paying $20 an hour. I interviewed one day and it's been 3 weeks and I still haven't heard back. Faster you move, the better candidates you get, and it sends a message. Even the candidates that get excited, if the process is long, their excitement level diminishes every week the cycle goes on. So keep that in mind. Employees choose jobs based on, and this was a Gallup poll end of last year, work-life balance and well-being are now the number one thing that they look at. Pay and benefits file, second, job security, and then strengths and career fit. So I think that's interesting, is that the strengths and actually like, is this a job that I've done before and that it fits, has fallen to the bottom of the list. And the number one is their work-life balance and the well-being. And a lot of times there's thought that that can't be offered in manufacturing. And I'm here to tell you that it can, and we have clients that are doing it and doing it well. And the retention rate has skyrocketed. Compete beyond the wages. Just trying to offer somebody 50 cents more an hour, or, I often hear that with clients when they're struggling to fill a position. Do I need to pay more? Should I pay more? My answer, unless they're grossly underpaying, which there are very few that we ever talk to that we choose to do business with, is that the case? It's more so, no, you don't need to that, but let's look at different ways to get people to want to work for you, and different options you can offer from a benefits standpoint, or you already have that you need to be highlighting more. Again, flexibility is the key, finding that way to say yes. Yes, product needs to get out the door, things need to get done, but figure out a way that it can balance where you can get to that soccer game. They can do what they need to do. I'll tell you, we did have a client that, I'll never forget this. This was years ago. They were a distribution firm, high seasonality to their business. They peak ended, it was the peak week. Everybody in the office left that afternoon and went to the bar and had a party with, foods and drink, and they cut out at noon. Manufacturing, the distribution folks had to work their full shift because they had to stay. So everybody left, manufacturing stayed, and they got pizza in the cafeteria. You wonder why they didn't have a great culture, and you wonder why they turned over their distribution staff every year. It's those types of things. It's finding a way to say yes where everyone's included and that you can offer that flexibility. Focus training and development for all levels. That's the number one thing too. I mentioned that NPS. We do that for our temporary associates and those that are on what we call temp to hires. We ask them different areas in a survey what more they would like to see on a job. And I'll tell you, even our $18 an hour candidates, people making $20 an hour, they want to know what their career path looks like. Even it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just offering little bits in training here and there where they feel like they're being invested in. If an individual, that's the number one, one of the biggest motivators for staying is they feel invested. In training. And then the AI question. I know everyone asks me, am I afraid that I'm going to lose my job? No, I'm never going to lose my position because nobody wants to. We will leverage AI from a recruiting standpoint to make my job a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, people don't want to talk to something that's AI generated. It's an AI response. That's the other thing we get from professional level candidates, is even when they are rejected, if you are using AI, make sure you tweak it a little bit that it goes out, but it still does not sound like it's generated AI. Again, it does not sit well. And people, especially after going through an interview process, and then I got an AI email to say, that I don't have the job. Again, your brand. So leverage it to make your people and your face and your brand more efficient, but don't let it replace who you are and what you do from that regard. So again, just freeing up your key people's time so they can be more efficient, and they're the reasons why they continue to want to work with you. So just some brief key takeaways. Manufacturers that are winning that we see right now, they're moving faster. They're hiring for potential and they're investing in their people. They're improving the overall candidate experience. Even if somebody doesn't get the job, they leave thinking that was a great company. I really wish I got that position and I'm going to try again someday to get there. Strengthening your employer brand, looking at different recruiting channels, and then just competing beyond the wages. And that's it. Thank you.